This is the Angels Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Los Angeles Angels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, Halo Nation. Hello, Halo hopefuls, and welcome back to the latest edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast. Coming at you live, as always, after every single Angels game, right here live on the Locked On Angels YouTube channel, and after the fact, both on the channel and wherever the heck you get the Locked On Angels audio podcast feed. If you don't know who I am, what's going on, everybody? My name is Gavin Carlson. Vinny's got me dying here. Oh, my goodness. I'm a former credentialed journalist in the LA area, spent 4 years covering UCLA sports with the Daily Bruin, and now in year 2 with the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Our team is the Angels, and boy, oh boy, they've got us in the dumps today. Eric says, play that violin music, another loss. Aaron says, I believe it was Aaron who says, no, it was not Aaron. Someone else said, yeah, there we go. Main 2 Media said, Gavin, make me feel better somehow, please. Cat Soup says, sorry you have to watch this team. The vibes are very, very low. And obvious reason why. The Angels, whether you think the season's done or not, this is just one of those games, man, that reminds you how brutal Angel baseball can be. This was one of those games where the Angels did little to nothing going into the final few innings. But then, boy, oh boy, the Angels of 2025, they win this game most of the times. A lot of you know what I'm about to say. Vinny's already here saying it, saying my favorite short king, Gavin, coin flip Carlson. You know what I'm about to say. This was a coin flip ball game, folks. We made it a coin flip ball game. And you don't expect this team to lose these games in big 2025, despite all the games we do lose. These are the few you expect us to win. So when you aren't winning these games anymore, it really does feel like there's no hope. There's nothing left. And we will certainly get into the Jo Adell performance. My goodness. We'll get into a lineup. The hitting performance tonight was both amazing and horrendous at the same time. But you know where we're starting with this. When I saw someone in here saying, please, please, please don't blame it on this individual. But you know I'm going to blame it on this individual. It's the turning point.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
It is the turning point. And before we get into it, I already see more people asking, where the heck am I? You guys got me absolutely dying. Vinny's in here saying that I'm in a busted hotel room. Moral of the story is, as you guys know, I'm moving out, and I'm not even lying. I have sold about everything in my apartment today. I don't have a desk anymore. I don't have a chair anymore. I don't have anything anymore. So yes, I am standing. Good thing, as the few people who met me yesterday know, I am a short king. So despite me standing, you can hardly tell. And yes, I'm in like this little corner of my apartment because the rest of it is an absolute disaster. Seth says stairwell edition. Absolutely hilarious. But yes, with all that being said, no, I'm not giving a room tour, Alex, because it's just a bunch of garbage on the ground. We're almost there. But let's get to the turning point because, again, this felt like the Angels were going to have one of those classic trademark comebacks. And it was going to be one of those comebacks that were going to make us feel, maybe delusional again, right? Of course, I'm in here yesterday saying yesterday's the funeral. In case you were still saying there was any shot left, you have to maybe sweep the Reds to feel like you got a shot or at least win 2 out of 3. But, if you come off that loss yesterday and you come in here and you have this amazing comeback, right, where the Angels are down in this ball game, it's 4-1, and you feel like this game is over. The Angels have done nothing. Hunter Green just absolutely mowed through this lineup. And we'll get to Jo Adell in greater depth in a second. But in the bottom of the 7th, Jo Adell does probably the only thing that could have been done to give the Angels a shot in this ball game, and that's go deep against Hunter Green, because we were not touching Hunter Green. The control was there. The velocity is there. The break is there. But when the control is there, no shot at all, right? But fortunately, he just does what good hitters do against good pitchers. Sometimes you got to jump on them, right? And so a fastball right down the middle to start the at-bat, that's got to be the pitch. Jo Adell loves to swing at the first pitch, take advantage. He did it again today. First pitch fastball, solo shot, 452 feet. But we'll talk about Jo Adell later. The moral of the story is, and there's, the other drinking game phrase for me, moral of the story. But the moral of the story is we absolutely needed this because then Hunter Greene feels human again because he was pretty superhuman throughout most of the start. But he feels human after he gives up the solo shot. 2 batters later, Travis d'Arnaud hits a double. And suddenly you're like, okay, Hunter Greene's coming out. The tying run comes up to bat. Christian Moore hits a base hit, so now the tying run's on base. Zach Neto comes up with 2 outs and has a clutch 2-out single to score Travis d'Arnaud. It's 4-3. You would have loved to make it 4-4, but you made it 4-3. You're right there in the ball game. You feel like the momentum is slowly shifting. Zephyr John comes in to replace Chafin. 1-2-3. He strikes out De La Cruz. The Big A is going crazy. He gets Andujar out, and then he strikes out Austin Hayes. The vibes are better. You got 2 innings to score 1 run. You're feeling real good. And if it wasn't for the Taylor Ward double play, we might have been ahead going into the 9th inning. But the moral of the story is Jo Adell does it again. He ties the game at 4, and all the momentum is on our side. Last year you would have said, oh, this is the Angels coming back, but they're going to blow it. This year, no. This is us saying this is the Angels coming back, making it a coin flip game, and then doing what they do best, relying on home runs, and then coming through with a walk-off in the bottom of the 9th. I guarantee you, I'm very confident. You know how a lot of people like to say I'm pessimistic. I really don't think I am. I think I'm just honest. But call me pessimistic, call me whatever you want. Even I was very, very confident that if Kenley Jansen gets through the top of the 9th inning, the Angels are walking this game off. I don't know if it's in the 9th or in the 10th or in the 11th, but the Angels are winning this game if Kenley gets to the 9th. I truly believe that. Because that's the one thing I can trust this Angels team to do. I can't trust starters to go deep. I can't trust the bullpen to be consistent. I can't really trust anybody in the lineup to be consistent outside of Zach Neto and Nolan Schanuel. Not dissing Taylor Ward or Jo Adell, but they're inconsistent, and their highs are the highest of highs, but their lows can be low too, right? The only thing we can trust is that in a game like this, at home, with the momentum, with the vibes, with Jo Adell putting on the Joe show, the Angels are going to walk this game off, right? Well, no, because Kenley Jansen, unfortunately, didn't have his stuff. He actually, ironically, starts it with the strikeout. It's looking like, okay, it's going to be one of those classic Kenley 1-2-3 innings, right? After he strikes out Marte, you're like, oh, for sure. It's going to be a quick 1-2-3 for Kenley, and then we're going to win this game. But then Trevino singles. Then he hits Ke'Bryan Hayes. They pinch hit Will Benson. He walks him. So now you've got a single, a hit by pitch, and a walk. The control's all over the place to the point where they come out and check him for an injury. He was grueling a little bit, right? Or not grueling, grunting a little bit. Looked like he was in a little pain. I honestly felt like it was an excuse to go have a meeting with him more because he didn't even test the pitch or anything. But the moral of the story is now you're in a whole lot of trouble. Friedel comes up, bases loaded, 1 out. You give up the sac fly. Okay, that's fine. But even Kenley of past games, you give up the sac fly, you're down 1. You get out of the inning, though. It's still 5-4, and I still think there's a decent chance that the Angels can tie this game, even though it's the bottom of the lineup, and even though we did see what they did do in the bottom of the 9th. I still think there's a shot, because with the Angels, there's always a shot in these coin flip games. But unfortunately, it became very unlikely because then the next at-bat, Gavin Lux hits a double, able to score a run. Fortunately, we throw out Will Benson. It would have been 7-4, but still, at this point, it's 6-4. And what's the takeaway from this Kenley outing? He just had no control, right? Not only does he hit a guy, not only does he walk a guy, not only does he then, give up the sac fly on the first pitch on a cutter right down the middle, which he certainly didn't mean to do, but then he gives up the double to Gavin Lux. Why? Because he falls behind 3-1. It's quite simple. He falls behind 3-1. Then there's no chance the slider's coming. It's a cutter, and it's just whether it's inside or too inside. And it was just inside, but over the plate. Gavin Lux turns on it. It's 6-4 Reds, and that's all she wrote. A pretty abysmal bottom of the 9th, a pop out and 2 strikeouts. It doesn't get any worse than that, but it really does feel like the game was lost, obviously, by what Kenley did in the top of the 9th inning. And again, not only is one of the only things we can rely on the Angels be, the ability to win a coin flip game, because of what we can do offensively in late innings, but also Kenley Jansen is one of the only reliable parts of this team, right? And I'm not going to let this one outing, turn me into turning on Kenley or something. Rogers in here saying lay off Kenley. I'm not ripping on him in terms of the season or anything, guys. But the moral of the story is he lost this game for us. There's no other way to put it, right? Was Kyle Hendricks great? No. Was the lineup great? No. But both teams, both the starter, Andrew Chafin, Ryan Zefferjon, and the lineup all did enough for us to win this game. The only guy who didn't, unfortunately, was Kenley Jansen. I'm sorry. And so do I still think he's great? Yes. Do I still want him to be back next season? Absolutely. But he's the reason we lost this game. He's been one of the only guys we can rely on, and that's why it hurts even more, and that's why it's another sign that we are crawling and stumbling to the finish line, because even the most reliable aspects of our team are becoming more and more unreliable, right? With that being said, we're going to take our break. When we come back, we will get into the Joe Show, because it's a bummer it comes on a loss, but Jo Adell was fantastic. We have to talk about it. And we'll also talk about why my outlook on the season, it's slowly, if not already, going to change. And games like this, maybe a day or two from now, I'll be sounding a lot different. I'll have a different opening statement because the takeaways will be different. I'll explain all that after a break here on a losing edition, on a standing apartment move-out edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast. I'll be right back. Now, on this Tuesday, this sad Tuesday, not too sad. I don't want to be too dramatic here, but obviously we're bummed out. But on this Tuesday, today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. We're now officially a week away. August 19th, the date today, but August 26th, a week from today, is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. Just for 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week one even kicks off, this is your moment. My flyer for MVP, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, number 2. I'm sticking with it. Super Bowl flyer. It's the Rams, baby. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets, because those are mine right now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. And today's show is also brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Preseason is already heating up, and college football isn't far behind. You know I'm excited for my Bruins, baby. Nico Iamaleava, is going to carry the Bruins to something special this year. But whether you got your eye on big-name quarterbacks like him or breakout running backs, Prize Picks makes it easy to get in the game. Whether you're betting on Saquon Barkley to have over a half a touchdown or 67 yards or something like that, or maybe you get creative and you want to say a receiver is going to have this many targets, right? However, casual you want to get with it or advanced you want to get with it, it's still amazing. It's a simple way to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups. It's basically $50 free after you play your first $5 play. Prize Picks, run your game. Back here live on a losing edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast, a second straight losing edition, fourth time in the last 5 games losing edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast. The Angels have lost 4 of their last 5, despite needing to go on one of their hottest runs of the season, and that means it's over. Vert's in here saying this is it for us. Absolutely. The Angels now 6 games under 500. The Reds now a season best 7 games over 500. So 2 teams in polar opposite directions. And I do want to emphasize, this is a good baseball team, the Reds, right? I'm not in here saying that this is a ridiculous performance or anything like that, right? This is a game where it's a coin flip game, guys, against a good baseball team, right? But the moral of the story is we're in a situation where you can't have, moral victories or, positive losses if you still believe you're in a wild card race, right? You can't do it. And so the moral of the story is you lost this ball game. You are not in a wild card race anymore. And that's why I'm going to start changing the outlook of the season. I'm going to start changing the way I talk on the show a little bit, because if you remember how I was the last 2 months of the season, really halfway through the season last year, we were talking about what could the lineup look like next year, right? I was doing a lot of lineup talk of, hey, do we like Neto here? Do we like Sean Will here? Should Jo Adell be here next year? Should Taylor Ward be here next year? If so, where should they hit? Where should they play? What's it going to look like when Christian Moore comes up? What's it going to look like? Right? We're going to, unfortunately, I hate to break it to you guys, but we're going to have to start talking like that. We're going to have to start saying, hey, I know we lost this game, but man, Jo Adell, he showed us he belongs on this team again. Quick reminder in case anybody forgot. Man, we lost this game, but at least Mike Trout looked like he remembered how to play baseball. Man, we lost this game, but at least we know that Christian Moore is going to give us one hit a night, even though he strikes out 3 times. Man, we lost this game, but man, Travis d'Arnaud versus Logan O'Hoppe, way different behind the plate, right? And that's something we need to examine in terms of if Logan O'Hoppe is a part of this future, right? That's the way we're going to have to talk. Because it's not going to be a, hey, we lost this game, but tomorrow becomes a must-win game, or, hey, we lost this game, but we're still only 6 games back. Come on, you can only do that for so long, right? And so, if this happened a week later, the opening segment would not have been that Kenley Jansen blew this game, right? The opening segment would have been that Jo Adell proves he's a part of the future, once again, reminding everyone how good he is, and that's where we get to the player of the game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
We already talked about the first of Jo Adell's back-to-back innings with a home run. An unbelievable game. 3 hits, 2 home runs in back-to-back innings, and not just any home runs, right? It's a solo shot off Hunter Greene, who was dominating us coming into that at-bat, that instantly kickstarts a 2-run 7th inning that also knocks Hunter Greene out of the ballgame. That was also a 452-foot bomb off Hunter Greene, 115-plus off the bat, right? But that was arguably the less important swing because in the bottom of the 8th, he ties the game with 1 swing. And I don't think I emphasized how impressive and important that was, right? For a guy to respond to a home run, and then it felt like the energy was sucked out of the building, right? Mike Trout gets on via walk. You got Taylor Ward up. You're thinking, hey, Taylor Ward 2-run shot gives us the lead. Taylor Ward base hit puts the tying run on second base. Taylor Ward walk does that. Or a Taylor Ward double down the right field line, maybe scores Trout, whatever. He grounds into a double play. And it felt like the vibes were done. But just like that, with 1 swing of the bat, another great at-bat from Jo Adell, right? Where he takes 3 balls. He fouls off 2 balls in the zone. What does that tell you? He's all over this guy, right? He fouled off 2 pitches in the zone. He didn't even sniff at 3 pitches outside of the zone. And then he gets a hanging slider on 3-2. He stays back on it. So impressive because the pitch before that was a sinker at 100 miles an hour. But he sits back on an 87-mile-an-hour slider. He rips it down the line, just kept it fair, ties the game at 4. And more importantly, right, because we did not win this game, and so unfortunately it did not contribute to the win. But more importantly, it's another guy that proves he's clutch, right? We can have the debates about Mike Trout all you want. But once again, we know Zach Neto. We can trust him in big moments. I still, as much as I'm critical of Taylor Ward, I'd say half the time you can still kind of trust him in big moments. I believe you can trust Nolan Schanuel most of the time in big moments because I simply just believe Nolan Schanuel is the most predictable hitter on this team in terms of you're going to get a good at-bat from him. And Jo Adell, he's had multiple games now where he's had back-to-back innings with a home run. He's had multiple multi-home run games. And this was one of the most impressive ones because it comes in back-to-back innings in a game you're losing, in a game where the first one knocks out a starter that's cruising, and the second one ties the freaking ball game in the bottom of the 8th inning, right? So, very positive takeaway, right? And if this was a month later and we already knew the season was over, I'd be here saying, hey, this is about as good of a takeaway as you can have from a meaningless baseball game in late August. One of your future stars, hopefully still, the plan is still to bring him back, right? Now, we can trust him, right? As I hear things going on outside my apartment, I'm getting nervous. Moral of the story is we can trust Jo Adell in big moments. It's another guy we can trust in big moments, and that's very encouraging for sure. Unfortunately, there was only a few other guys that had good games in this one. Again, Mike Trout does get on base 3 times, 2 hits and a walk. He only struck out once. He scored a run. Zach Neto 1 for 4 with an RBI, though he did strike out twice. And that's the other big takeaway is that we did have 15 freaking strikeouts, right? So if it wasn't for the 2 runs in the 7th, the 1 run in the 8th, if it wasn't for Kenley Jansen, right? Or excuse me, Jo Adell, this would have been a really bad game, a game where I would have been here furious saying Hunter Greene ran through us. I know he's amazing, but come on, have some life. You struck out 15 times. You only drew 1 walk and you didn't do anything, right? But the fact that you did still come back in the last couple innings makes it a little more respectable. But the moral of the story is it was still a bad performance overall, right? You have 9 hits. But you still have Bryce T not get a hit, Moncada not get a hit, Sean will not get a hit. The rare 0 for 4 from Nolan Seanwell. Moncada 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. Almost forgot to mention that, right? Everybody in the lineup other than Seanwell struck out at least once, which is why it's crazy. Vinny, I'm trying my best to ignore him. I promise you I am. My goodness. But the moral story is everyone struck out at least once other than Seanwell. We had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys with multiple strikeouts, including three from Christian Moore. I know a lot of people are asking me, Gavin, what do you want to do with Christian Moore? You know my opinion. My opinion is if you want to have a guy take his time in the minors, that's one thing. But if you're going to rush him up to the bigs, don't do this flip-flop, send him up, send him down crap, right? Keep him in the minors or keep him in the majors. You've called him up. You're going to play him every day at second base. Well, guess what? You got to get used to the growing pains of a rookie playing, an important role on a team right away when he's not ready. So while I think Christian Moore maybe would have benefited from a little bit more time in the minors before coming up, he's in the show now. He's in the Joe show now, and he's not leaving. Leave him there. Let him learn more and more about MLB baseball, pitching, base running, fielding, all of that. He needs to stay there, right? He's always going to have one good swing. He's shown us that. Every game, he has at least one impressive swing. Even last night, he had one of the hardest hit balls of the game. It was just unfortunately right at somebody. So I'm still liking what I'm seeing from Christian Moore. The 3 strikeouts is concerning, but guess what? We saw it from Kyron Paris. We saw it from Matthew Lugo. We saw it from just about everyone other than Bryce Teodosio in terms of striking out a bunch. It's just what this team does. Something about the way they're coached and the approach at the plate. Everyone strikes out, and so we certainly expect a rookie to do the same. But I'm not worried about him. I'm not worried about the core. But I am worried about the Angels because it does feel like we are certainly crawling to the finish line. With all that being said, we're going to wrap this one up. Shout out to everybody in here. I love the jokes about the apartment. Hilarious. It's crazy, crazy time for me, all right? I'll be honest. Just crazy time. So I'm going to wrap this one up. There's literally someone on Facebook Marketplace outside ready to pick up another item. It's crazy, crazy life. But appreciate you guys sticking with me. Again, shout out to everyone I met yesterday. One more time, Vinny gets the shout out here. The Gooby signed ball. Didn't get to show it off. Actually, I think I did show it off. The hat, of course, right here. Legendary. And then the Logan O'Hoppe bobblehead, which is a little fragile, so I'm not going to pick it up. But shout out to Vinny. Shout out to Angels Win. Shout out to Dylan. Amazing to meet you guys. And hopefully we can still have one more meet and greet before the season's over if I'm back down in SoCal. But take care, everybody. Chocolatey cat soup. You're the man. Thank you, Vinny, for the congrats there. And you guys are the best. We'll be back here tomorrow night selling the ball on Facebook. Nathan, that's hilarious. Certainly not, because yes, Eric is right. It is great memorabilia. But take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your Tuesday night. And I will see you back here tomorrow night, hopefully after selling the light bulbs. You guys are hilarious. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Keep your heads up and go Angels. Take care.